Hey guys, hope you're well. I'm gonna get right into a video today. I wanted to give a shout out to somebody. Every time I do a shout out for somebody, I don't think they even see or hear the shout out, but but I did want to give a shout out to Full Hyperial. She is a watcher of my channel, and Full Hyperial recommended this site to me, listchallenges.com. List Challenges. I'd never heard of it before. And since I've been doing lists lately, I, I looked up albums here, and I mean, look at all these. They're over seven, almost 8,000 lists. And it looks like they archived them. Uh, Here, let me close out of this. They archive these lists. And it's kind of like a Wayback Machine, but you can access everything very easily. People just save these lists and then upload them into this list challenges. And you can look up every best of list that's ever come out, really. It looks like these people have found every list out there and they have posted them on here. I mean, look at 7,738 lists. Like this list, it's removed albums from the 1001 albums. So I talk about this a lot. Online publications love to update and edit their list, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. With all the DEI woke nonsense, lists have been very, very heavily altered. Lists nowadays are just most fake they've ever been. None of them are truly honest. They're just crowbarring certain artists in there so they can fit these DEI measures and DEI checklists. But when you go back in time, you see what people really think. And this is a great list. So full or great website. So Full Hyperial, thanks very much for recommending this. There's a lot of content on here for me. Like Rolling Stone's 500 Best Albums of All Time 2023 revision. That's really cool. I'm glad they're doing that. 'Cause, yeah, I mean, Rolling Stone's one of the worst culprits when it comes to revisionist history. I mean, before you even look up a top 20 list there today for Rolling Stone, you know what they're going to have on there. But 30 years ago, it was a lot different. Again, up until 5, 6 years ago, even a decade ago, most of these lists would more or less accurately reflect their opinions. Nowadays, you just don't get that. Nothing's honest. Everything is ham-fisted and ridiculous and dishonest. Very inauthentic. But yeah, I'm loving all these lists. I'm going through I mean, obviously I'm not live. I'd like to hear, are any of these lists something that you guys would like me to go through? Check out these lists. Go to listchallenges.com, by the way. If there's a list you want me to talk about, please let me know. I will. And not just music. It could be film or, video games or whatever. I don't know if they do games. Do they? Yeah, it looks like they don't do games. They do movies, books. 101 best movies of all time in no particular order, 52 best murder mysteries, 50 favorite musicals. Yeah, this will be fun. So if there's something you want me to do, let me know. I will. Pitchfork's 100 albums of the 90s. See that is intriguing to me. I wonder when this came out. Let's look at this. Oh, this came out in 2003. Okay, so all right. This will be Oh my God. Okay, so 2003 Pitchfork. This is right when Pitchfork started becoming a thing, like people were becoming aware of them. They are the all-encompassing entity that they are today. But back in 2003, they were just kind of getting started. I love this. 2003. So in 2003, this is well before wokeness, a good decade before all that shit started. So this is going to be Pitchfork in the early 2000s. This is going to be nothing but a collection of white bread emo rock with a couple of albums sprinkled in from black artists and maybe like an electronic album here or there. just so they can prove to you that they know about electronic music, just so they can prove that they're putting at least one artist that's black in there. That's what they used to do. Nowadays, they just put nothing but women and black people in the top 20 because they have to. Very disingenuous, very dishonest. It's not what these people are actually listening to. It's just the way it is now. But yeah, these lists more or less will be honest, but in the early days of Pitchfork, it was a very, very I listen, I can already foresee what this list is going to be. I mean, we see the top four here. I'm already cringing at one of these. But it's going to be a lot of shit like this. Neutral Milk Hotel. I have no doubt like Pavement is going to be in here and just that really annoying whiny indie emo rock, you know? That shit that's like nails on a chalkboard to me. That's the kind of shit that websites like Pitchfork just loved, man. Oh my God. Let's look at this list. This will be fun. But they were honest though. It's like relatively. Again, you're going to see a couple of crowbars in there just so they can say that they sprinkled something different in there. But for the most part, this is going to be a bunch of pasty white bands that make cringy emo rock. I mean, that's what it's going to be. I lived through this time. 2003. I mean, this is prime Gen X fare here. I'm a Gen X guy myself, and this is prime Gen X time. There's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of white emo rock on here. You can guarantee it. Radiohead, OK Computer, number one. Just an obvious choice. 2003, this album, I mean, I feel like this album was more intensely loved at that time. It still is loved. I think it's just become something that's an institution at this point. I personally don't even think it's Radiohead's best album, but they hadn't put out their best album yet in 2003, in my opinion. I think In Rainbows is probably their best. Amnesiac and Kid A are also really good. Speaking of Radiohead, I wanted to point this out. Did you guys see the bleep notification that went out this week? Tom York and Mark Pritchard, baby, putting out a new album coming out in a couple months. The Pritch, Mark Pritchard, man. It did occur to me that I still have not done a global communication video, and that's crazy to me because Mark Pritchard is I put him up there with Andy Weatherall in terms of brilliant electronic music producers. I think Mark Pritchard, I call him Pritch, is one of the best. And I will do a video on that prior to the York Pritchard album coming out. Tom York knows. He knows the people to align himself with. Mark fucking Pritchard, man. Global communication. I will do a video very soon. And yes, I will do a Richard Kirk video. I promise I will. It's coming. My Bloody Valentine Loveless. Yeah. In 2003, that's when this album really started getting reevaluated. People were really starting to recognize Loveless for what it was. It was always really popular, but then it took a good decade for that album to really start hitting home with people and start realizing how transformative it was. And it was. That was a great album. Flaming Lips, Soft Bulletin. Yeah, I think Soft Bulletin is one of those bulletin. That's a word you can say either way, I guess. How do I say that? Bulletin? Look at the bulletin board. Okay, bulletin. This is a great fucking album. It really is. And when this came out in 1998, people were freaked out by it in a good way. It's funny, like, I don't know that I would see that album on a top 90s list now, but back in 2003, yeah, Soft Bulletin is a brilliant album. It's funny, like, I do like I like a couple of Flaming Lips albums. I'm not generally a fan, but I think they have two albums that are amazing. Soft Bulletin and Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. I think those two albums were just off the chain cool. Other than those two, though, I've never quite been able to get into them. And Wayne Coyne, the singer, is so fucking annoying. He's hard to take. Just shut up, Wayne. You're obnoxious. Neutral Milk Hotel in the airplane over the sea. Oh my. I love Neutral Milk Hotel. I think I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. Dude, I don't get it, man. There's some things you just can't get. There's some music that's not for you. Neutral Milk Hotel, I don't know, man. It's the sound of nails on a chalkboard to me. I get it. Like I can kind of understand why sensitive emo white hipsters would love this album, and this is kind of the heyday of that scene of whiny emo hipster rock. But people still love this album to this day. I remember getting this when it was new. It came out on was it Merge? It came out on a label called Merge, I think. I remember getting this new at the time, and people were kind of talking about it, but this is an album that kind of came and went without a lot of fanfare when it was released in the late 90s. But then it started picking up steam like 4 or 5 years later. And I don't know. I've tried. People that I respect, whose tastes in music I deeply respect, fucking love this record. I don't know. I don't understand it. Maybe it's because I'm from Portland. You don't even know how big an album this record is in Portland. I mean, think of Portlandia. This is the kind of shit that those stereotypical characters in Portlandia listen to, right? I mean, I'm just remembering a couple years ago I dated this woman. She was tough to deal with on the best of days, but I remember the first time I went over to her apartment and we were getting to that point where we're going to be, getting naked and rolling around and doing naughty things to each other. And she led me to her bedroom, and I looked up on the wall, and there was a giant subway sized poster of this album. I didn't say it to her, but in the back of my mind, I was like, "And you expect me to get a boner with this fucking poster on your wall, subway sized? How the hell do you expect me to perform with the shadow of this depressing, stupid fucking album hanging over me?" I mean, whatever. I guess the albums. I guess it touches a lot of people. But the kind of person that is touched by this album, it's a certain type of person. Do you know what I'm saying? Whatever. You can think that I'm being judgmental. I know people, and I'm friendly with people who love this record. I just sometimes you can't help it. You can't help but be a little judgmental. Neutral Milk Hotel is just not an album for me. And oh boy, yeah. Yeah, again, memories of oh my. Yeah, I won't. I'll leave it at that. You guys don't want to hear anymore. Maybe you do, but I'm not going to give it to you. Okay, see what I'm saying? Here's Pavement. What did I just say? What did I just fucking say? Talk about nails on a fucking chalkboard. Pavement? Again, this might be a Portland thing. I remember it's so funny to me because, yeah, I grew up in Portland and I knew of Pavement. I know people who are friends with guys in the band, like the main guy, Stephen Malkmus. Like I'm friends with people who are friends with this guy. I think he's in Portland. I don't know that he's originally from Portland, but he's in Portland now. Uh, it's funny. It's like growing up in Portland, I knew people listened to this shit. When did this come out? Like 1994 or some point in the 90s, mid 90s, early mid 90s. But this is not the shit I listened to, and nobody I knew listened to this stuff. It was the scene and the people that I hung out with were so far removed from this kind of crap. I think most people just assume if you're in the Northwest, you were listening to this shit. No, you weren't. No. I don't know that I've ever even heard all this album. I've heard bits of it. That was enough. I don't want to hear anymore. Number five? But again, see, this is Pitchfork being totally honest. This isn't necessarily them crowbarring things in because they think they should be there. This is just them having their opinions. And this is a very slanted, certain demographic here. 2003 Pitchfork. Pavement. I don't know. I can't help but wonder, like, can you imagine can you imagine thinking that Nutrimilk Hotel and Pavement were like five of the best albums of the 90s? How miserable of a son of a bitch do you have to be? Where that's the truth, where that's your reality. Ugh, what a depressing world those people must live in. Yikes. No thanks. All right. Nirvana, never mind. Of course. You know what? I'm done talking about this. Okay. Here's the electronic album that they probably felt like they had to throw in there. But whatever, I guess they're being honest. I mean, DJ Shadow introducing, they spelled this wrong, by the way. There's a D in there. And introducing. This is a great album, no question about it. Introducing changed so much shit. In my honest opinion, introducing is oh God, here's another dude, really? I was trying to not look ahead. I couldn't help it. Here we go. Two Pavement albums in the top 10. Uh, well, whatever. At least I can skip over number eight very quickly. But introducing in terms of, I mean, at least out of these eight, this is this is the key piece in all of these records, I think. This is my personal favorite out of all of these. Soft Bulletin would be way up there. It would be. And OK Computer's a great album too. But you know what? If you asked Radiohead the kind of albums they were listening to when they made OK Computer, you know what they'd say? They'd say DJ Shadow introducing. In fact, I think I saw that in an interview. They were listening to DJ Shadow, to Autechre, to Mowax, that stuff. And there would be no OK Computer without introducing. So just remember that shit. Introducing is the best record out of all of these, even My Bloody Valentine. In fact, I do really like all of these albums on some level, except Pavement and Neutral Milk Hotel. I mean, those three, I mean, give me a break. No, not for me. Sorry. Bon- Bonnie and Prince Billy. I see a darkness. Ugh, I see bullshit. But listen, this is what they think. Bonnie fucking Prince Billy. I remember I saw him live once. When was that? 2006? And yes, of course, I got drugged there by a woman. Every embarrassing thing I've ever done in my life is for pussy. I'm not proud of it. Any real man will say the same thing. Every embarrassing, dumb, retarded thing that we've done against our will in our entire lives is down to pussy. It is what it is. Us men are very simple that way. We're really not all that complicated. She loved Bonnie Prince Billy. And you'll do anything to get laid if you like somebody enough. And in my case, in this specific case, it was I had to go to a fucking Bonnie Prince Billy show. And to this day, it's one of the most boring. I remember just sitting there in the balcony with her and completely zoning out. Like, when do we get to go home? Can we go back to your place now, please? Do I have to sit here for another minute? Again, I'm sure Bonnie Prince Billy is a very nice guy personally. I don't have anything against him personally or as a human being, but his music, fingernails on a chalkboard. Guided by Voices, number 10, B1000. Wow. Again, this is what they're listening to. This was so far removed from my crew and what we were listening to. These guys were listening to Guided by Voices and Pavement, and me and my crew, we were listening to Autechre and Aphex Twin and fucking, you know, anything on Warp, LFO. It just was a completely different scene, man. People assume that since you're from maybe from the Pacific Northwest or something, you listen to this stuff. Not true. I wasn't. Talk Talk Laughing Stock. They put that there in 2003. Okay. This is an album that really didn't get a lot of attention. when it came out. I know this because I liked Talk Talk at the time. In fact, I have this record. Came out in 1991, I think. Very cool album, but yeah, like no one, hardly anyone was listening to it at the time. But yeah, this is one of those records that took a good decade for people to really warm up to. And this is a great album, Laughing Stock. And good for Pitchfork for putting it on there in 2003. That predated the recent revival of this record. There has been this constant progression of this album. Seems like it gets more and more popular as the years go, and it deserves to be that. Slint Spiderland 12. Okay. It's an interesting choice. That is kind of a cool album, but whatever. More Nirvana in Utero. I don't know. Okay. Belle and Sebastian, if you're feeling sinister. Number four, really? Think of all the albums that came out in the 90s, all of them. And your reality is that Belle and Sebastian had the 14th best album of the decade. Again, could you be more miserable? Belle and Sebastian. Well, I suppose there's somebody out there who thinks that. Yeah. It's not even that I dislike Belle and Sebastian, but one of the best of the 90s? Man. Well, again, far removed from my world. No, wouldn't even be close to the top 100 for me. They're all right, but Jesus, man. Sad bastard music. Who said that? Jack Black in High Fidelity. I think that his coworker in the record store was playing Bell and Sebastian, and he's like, "Keep playing sad bastard music. I don't care." I have to agree with him. Sad bastard music. Radiohead again. The Bends. Kid A and Amnesiac had been out since then in 2003. The Bends is not better than those, but at that time, I guess now you have the benefit of hindsight. The Bends is a good album. I'm not taking anything away from it, but I don't know that I'd have it it would not be that high. Might be in my top 100 of the 90s for sure. It's a good album. Definitely a good precursor to what was to come. The Dismemberment Plan, Emergency and I. Wow, I have no idea. I've never heard of this. The band or the album. What in the hell? I I'm surprised. Maybe that's their ringer. Everyone's got to have a ringer in the top 20. I've never heard of it. I don't even have a clue. All right, so here's the crowbarring. Not that I have anything against I love Public Enemy is awesome. Arguably the greatest hip hop rap act of all time. In fact, I might put him at number one. So I get it, but do you really think that the people at Pitchfork were sitting around listening to Public Enemy? I doubt it. They're all listening to every Guided by Voices and fucking Neutral Milk Hotel and Pavement album, and then they're going to stop and listen to Public Enemy. I doubt it. They're putting this in there because they want you to think that, this is them tipping their hat to a different race. This is them knowing that they have to do that. And black people should be embarrassed and embarrassed for white people here. Smart black people know the difference. Black people, they look at this and they're like, yeah, whatever, whitey. You weren't fucking listening to this record. And they're right. They were not listening to it. But they had to put it in there. Siamese Pumpkins, Siamese Dreams. Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dreams. I don't get it with these guys. I don't care how to say this. Boy, fucking Gen Xers and millennials love this band, man. Fucking love these guys. Uh, Man, I don't get it. I have never, ever liked Smashing Pumpkins. I think they're just painfully mid, about as boring as it gets as a band. Yeah, boy. Yeah, when it comes to Smashing Pumpkins, Gen Xers and millennials just lose their shit. They fucking love this band. I don't get it. Never will. Don't care to. No thanks. Smashing Pumpkins, no thanks. And number 18, I would think Gish is a better album than Siamese Dreams in terms of Smashing Pumpkins, but what do I know? I don't like them anyway. Beck, Odelay. Yeah. I love Beck. I have a deep, deep, deep respect for Beck. I really do. I don't think he's done anything great in a long time. He's one of those artists who I think he came and he said all he had to say in the first decade of his career, and then he kind of went away. He ran out of things to say. Like the world or the industry just kind of burned him out. But I do think everything Beck did in the 90s is brilliant. All of it. And he's got a couple of great albums in the 2000s too. Beck is a supreme talent. He really is. I love Beck. Odelay was a huge album. Love Odelay. I love Mellow Gold. I love Mutations. I love Sea Change. I love Guerrero. Um, yeah, he was on an insane roll. In fact, I remember he the Flaming Lips opened for Beck back in 2002 to that it was the Sea Change tour. Beck had just put out Sea Change and Flaming Lips album, the current Flaming Lips album was Yoshimi. I saw them play together. That was a really cool show. And arguably, arguably their two best albums at the same time too. So it was a really special show. It was awesome. I mean, Flaming Lips were headlining plenty of venues. So for them to come out and open for Beck, I mean, it was quite the double bill. And it was awesome. They put on a great show. Beck is a total showman on stage. He was dancing around, good dancer, great songwriter. I love Beck. Again, I don't think he's done anything that great in almost 2 decades, but it doesn't matter. He's put so much brilliant stuff out in the 90s and early 2000s that I think he'll forever get a pass. He's just, yeah, super talented guy. Really nice guy too. I met him once. I met him at a record convention. A buddy of mine and I were selling records, and then this tiny little figure came up and looked through my records, and it was fucking Beck. It was crazy. Beck wandered up, and my friend and I kind of looked at each other. He was playing in Eugene, Oregon. That's where this record convention was. He was playing in Eugene, Oregon that night, and he was there, killing time before the show. And he came up to look through my records, and I remember no one recognized him. I was the only one that did, which was weird, but I recognized Beck. I said something like, dude, I'm a huge fan. And he said, oh, thanks, man. And I said, is there anything you're looking for? And he goes, not really. I just saw that you were selling some Mowax stuff. And we started talking about Mowax. We started talking about the Heads compilations that had come out. You know what I'm talking about? Those big, thick box sets that Mowax put out called Heads. We're talking about Heads and we're talking about Aphex Twin because Aphex Twin had just remixed his single New Pollution, I think. Was it New Pollution? Devil's Haircut. Devil's Haircut. It was Devil's Haircut. Yeah. I think Richard James did a remix of Devil's Haircut for the New Pollution single. Something like that. Anyway, it was just one of those like out of body moments. I'm sitting there talking to Beck during his Odelay phase, and we're talking about Mowax and Aphex Twin. Pretty cool, man. Kind of like the time I talked to Mick Jones about the Orb. Go watch my Big Audio Dynamite video if you want to know what that was about. I met Mick Jones of The Clash at a Big Audio Dynamite concert, and we ended up talking about rave music and the Orb. It's a small world, man. Good times. Bjork Post number 20. Yeah, that's a great album, man. Yeah, you got to put Bjork in there. I think, boy, it's hard to pick a favorite. amongst Bjork's first three albums. Her first three albums are all amazing. Debut, Post, and Homogenic. I think Homogenic's probably my favorite, but I'm biased there. Mark Bell of LFO produced that, and so because I'm such a huge LFO fan, and obviously Bjork was too, or still is. Mark Bell is dead now, so I say was. But she still is, obviously. For me, it might be Homogenic, but Post is way up there. Great album, brilliant. Oh, well, there's Post right or Homogenic right there. Did they really put two records by the same artist right next to each other like that? Okay, I guess they did. Well, you just heard what I said about Homogenic. Brilliant. Built to spill. Perfect from now on. Built to spill. No, really? Is this accurate? Did they really think that this album was 22nd best of the 90s? Built to spill? Okay. Not for me. No. And then here they are again at 24. I know I'm looking ahead. I'm cheating, but you guys are too, admit it. This doesn't seem accurate. You put two Bjork albums right next to each other, then two Built to Spill records next to each other, and I don't know. I question if these are actually in the original order, but maybe they are. I'm assuming, I guess I'll assume they are. Built to Spill, please. I don't know how you get any more mediocre than Built to Spill. Beta Band. God damn, I love those guys. The three EPs, that's it. This isn't an album. This is a compilation, but okay. What happened to the Beta Band? They were fucking fantastic. I remember at the time, what was it? Uh, what was it? Jockey Slut? They were on the cup. They were on the cover of Jockey Slut. I think it was for the Heroes to Zeros album. Maybe it was Hot Shots too. I don't remember. I feel like it was Heroes to Zeros though, which by the way is a brilliant album. I think Heroes to Zeros is their best record, their last album. I do remember reading like they were packing it in as a band. They just felt like they had fought against the tide more than they wanted to. They tried to make it big and they wanted to be a huge band and it just didn't work out to the level that they wanted it to work out at. And so they just packed it in and left. I think that's what the title Heroes to Zeros was supposed to mean. But I didn't quite get it. Like they had a big fan base and they were great. I felt like I mean, they definitely had the talent in the records and the music to be a household name, I thought. But they were just quirky. Like I felt like they were doing what Radiohead was doing essentially, but they were just weirder. They were more quirky. I don't think people knew what to do with them. But Beta Band were fucking brilliant. They were so good, man. A band that they were able to take so many disparate influences and make it all their sound. You could hear so many influences coming in all the time from rock to punk to folk to house, techno, hip hop, krautrock. They just threw it all in there and it worked. They were so fucking good, the Beta Band. How about a Beta Band reunion, man? Where are those guys? Yeah, they were amazing. Love me some Beta Band. 25, Yola Tango, I can hear the heart beating as one. 25, huh? Okay. Again, this is what they were listening to. Wouldn't be on my list. That is a good album. I like Yola Tango, actually. I like them quite a bit. That's a good album. 25? Nah. Weezer, Blue Album. I default to my earlier comments. How sad do you have to be where this is true? My 26th favorite album of the 90s is Weezer, Blue Album. That's right. That's what I think. Get the fuck out of here. Weezer? I don't know. Someone picking Weezer to be that high just makes me wonder, like, are you listening to music? Are you actually exposing yourself to different sounds, or are you just trying to be an asshole? Weezer's one of the worst bands of all time. I'm sorry. They're fucking terrible. It's beyond fingernails on a chalkboard. It's fingernails on a chalkboard that's been sprayed with diarrhea. That's what Weezer is to me. Fuck them. They're terrible. Guided by Voices, Alien Lanes, 27th of the 90s, huh? Indie, whiny, emo rock. Next, Pixies, Bossa Nova. Sure. I love the Pixies. Bossa Nova is a great album. Is Bossa Nova the one with Valoria on it? Valoria is on that, right? Valoria is a fucking brilliant song. One of their best. But now that I'm thinking about it, I can't. Is that on there? Well, whatever. That's a great album. Modest Mouse, Lonesome Crowded West. Modest Mouse. Oh my God. Oh, does it get any whinier or cringier than Modest Mouse? Oh, I can't make it through a single track with that band. They are fucking horrible. Modest Mouse is one of those bands where you couldn't, oh my God. Yeah, I mean, being in the Northwest, you kind of can't get away from them at this time. No, thank you. No. Liz Phair, Exile in Guyville. Liz Phair's all right. I don't really like her music, but she always seemed like a cool chick. Every time I saw interviews with her, she kind of had a cool vibe. Super hottie too, really cute. I don't know. It's not the kind of music I'd listen to, but the music that I have heard of hers, it's like, whatever. But she seemed cool, so I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it came from a real place with her, so I can't. I like anything authentic, even if I don't like the music. She seems authentic. That's all you can ask for? So fine. Number 30, of course not. That wouldn't be my choice, but Wilco, again, with the whiny, white, emo rock kind of vibe. No thanks. Notorious B.I.G., Ready to Die. That is a cool album. I feel like time has kind of proven that one to be a big album. I do like Biggie. He's pretty cool. Was pretty cool. That is a good album. 32. Okay. I don't know. Obviously not my choice. Nas, as Will Ferrell would say. Nas Illmatic. Yeah, it's just become one of those things I don't know. Obviously, this is where they make their hip hop run. They're done talking about their white, whiny emo rock, so now they're moving on to stuff that they probably feel they have to put in there. Beastie Boys, Check Your Head. Yeah, great album. Arguably their best. Between that and Ill Communication, I mean, which one is it? Check Your Head's fucking awesome. What, that come out in 92, right? Yeah, that album came out and it blew everyone away. Everyone just kind of, it was the Beastie Boys. You didn't really expect much from them. All you had was, Paul's Boutique and License to Ill. So when Check Your Head came, it was like, whoa, damn. Everybody loved this album when this came out in the early 90s. It didn't matter if you were into rock, punk, electronic, hip hop. It didn't matter. Everybody loved Check Your Head. It was, I mean, maybe more than any other album that I've seen on this list so far. Check Your Head was that album that everybody loved. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without hearing it. Huge album. Yeah. Boards of Canada, Music Has the Right to Children. This is the easy choice for them, obviously. They had to put an electronic album in there. This is the only one they knew of. By 2003, Music Has the Right definitely had entered into the zeitgeist. Gio Gotti had been out too. That came out in 2002. So, yeah, this was starting to become the de facto electronic music of the 90s for the indie rock crowd. It was the one that they could appreciate. Those of us who had this in 1998 when it first came out, I can tell you with absolute certainty because I was there, nobody was listening to this. Hardly anybody. Let me put it that way. I hammered this and I played a couple of tracks in the clubs, specifically a track called Telephasic Workshop. that has this pounding, relentless bass and beat to it. At least here in the Northwest, I did my part into introducing this album into people's consciousness. And I can tell you again with 100% certainty, I got a lot of feedback about this group. People didn't know Boards of Canada when I was playing them. Most people. And almost every time I played Telephasic workshops, someone would come up to me. At least one person would come up to me and they'd be like, "What the fuck was that?" People, Boards of Canada just has that talent, right? That's why they become the legends they are. But in '98, they were not legends. Most people did not know who these guys were. I did because obviously I am a uber nerd with electronic music and it was on Warp. Anything on Warp I bought. But beyond that, I also was a fan of a label called Scam, which is what their records prior to this came out on. Scam Records. I'll do a Boards of Canada video someday. I've been following them for 30 years now, so I have a lot of experience with them. I have a feeling a lot of people who watch my channel love Boards of Canada. Um, Gio Gotti's probably my favorite Boards of Canada album, but this is brilliant. This reminded me when Gio Gotti, I think I might have mentioned this in a previous video. I have I have two actually. I have a kaleidoscope. When they put out Gio Gotti, Bleep, then called Warp Mart. They weren't always called Bleep. They used to be called Warp Mart. I bought a kaleidoscope. You know, like you put your eye up to it and you turn it and it reflects all these colors. They sold a Gio Gotti kaleidoscope. I remember buying that for $25. I can't imagine what it's worth now. It's probably worth a lot more than 25 bucks. I have two of them. I remember it was one per customer and I bought one. And then I told my girlfriend about it and she wanted one. And I was like, damn, like, it's one per customer. Should I try ordering another one? So I went back the next day and I bought another one and they sent them both. I got two. So I have two Boards of Canada kaleidoscopes. No, I am not selling them, so don't ask. Wu-Tang Clan Enter the Wu-Tang 36 chambers. And they put it at 36. Isn't that cute? Isn't that witty? So yeah, that kind of questions the validity of this whole list now. We're gonna put 36 chambers at 36. All right, maybe they're not being so honest, but this is a great album. In terms of hip hop albums of the 90s, fuck yeah, man. Enter the Wu-Tang, great album. No question about it. Do you really think these whiteys though were listening to that at that time? I don't know. Here we go. Oh my God. It doesn't get any whinier, cringier, moanier than Magnetic Fields, does it? Oh my God. This is another this is another band I went to for the sake of pussy. I will say hot women love these bands. I will say that. 69 love songs. What's this guy's name? Stephen Merrick, something like that? I don't know. Dude, this was one of the most painful concerts I've ever been to. I remember too, like the guy, he has like a hearing, he has like ear problem. Like he didn't I remember him telling the audience to not applaud or something. You Magnetic Field fans, am I wrong about this? When I saw him live, this must have been like 2006 or 7 or something. I remember him telling the audience, you can't applaud because I have an ear issue or something. So he was playing and like nobody was clapping or applauding. It was really bizarre, but no thanks, man. I can't do it. Oh, yeah, this is an example of the worst music to me. Like the last fucking thing on the earth I would listen to. Just awful. Yeah, bad. Jesus Lizard, goat. Yeah, okay. Interesting choice, 38. Well, I don't know. I don't know that I have much to say about that right now. Let's see. The Olivia Tremor Control, music from the unrealized film script. No clue what this is. Never heard of it. I don't know. Aphex Twin, Richard D. James. That is the album that the indie kids gravitate toward, isn't it? When it comes to Aphex. I mean, think of it. Think of it. Albums and it releases from Aphex in the 90s. You got both Selected Ambient Works albums. You got I Care Because You Do. You got Richard D. James. You got Surfing on Sine Waves, although that was Polygon Window. But Richard D. James is his best. That's what they're saying. I think people like this, like indie kids like this record because it's brief, you know, it's a bunch of short, abbreviated 2 or 3 minute songs. They're really melodic. In terms of Richard James, it's probably one of his least experimental albums, even though it is experimental. But again, it's so melodic. I think the indie kids can warm to it. I think it's his least interesting album in the 90s, personally. But I'm an Aphex fan. Like people who think Pavement are the greatest rock band ever, they're going to think Aphex Twin's album, Richard D. James, is one of his best, if that makes sense. I'll go through the first 50 here. Let's go through another Yola Tango album. Painful. It is painful. I shouldn't say that. I like Yola Tango. That's a fine album. Fugazi, Red Medicine. Yeah, Fugazi's cool. I won't argue anyone who thinks Fugazi is a great album, or Red Medicine is a great Fugazi album. Sure. REM, Automatic for the People. That is a cool album. I'm not an Army REM fan. They're one of those bands. I have two albums that I like. I like Automatic for the People and I like Monster. Other than that, never really been a big REM fan. They're fine, but Automatic for the People is a really cool album. I will relent to that one. Boredom's Super AE. Never heard of it. Don't have a clue what that is. Godspeed You Black Emperor. Sure. I like. They're all right. They're all right. I have a couple of their albums. The albums that I have, their songs are really long, right? Like the albums that I have from them, the tracks are like 20 minutes long. Like each side is a song. I don't know if all their albums are like that, but the ones I have are. Air, Moon Safari. Yeah, I agree. One of the very few on here that I would agree with. That was a huge album. One of those, an electronic album that appealed to everybody because of the melodies, the instrumentation, the production. Air just kind of figured that out. They were able to find an in, like they were an electronic band, but they were able to figure out how to kind of be mainstream too. It's a hard thing to pull off, I think, to stick to your roots and not compromise your sound or your vision, but also break through to the mainstream. It's really tough. And Air did it with Moon Safari. Good on them. This is a fucking great album, no question about it. I'd probably put that in my top 50 too. Beautiful stuff. Oval, 94. Huh. Okay. 47. All right. Portishead, Dummy. That's probably one that doesn't really need much of an explanation. Really cool album. Yeah, speaking of bands of like where the hell did they go? Where's Portishead? I thought their last album, the three, Portishead 3, I thought that was their best album, personally. Boy, they disappeared after that, didn't they? Tom Waits, Bone Machine. Yeah, I agree. I'd put that way up there too. It would be higher than 49 actually for me. Top 20. That's what I think of Tom Waits and Bone Machine. I think Bone Machine is his best work. And I mean of all time, going back to the 70s when he first started putting records out. I think Bone Machine is his best album. And that's saying a hell of a lot from me because I love Tom Waits. Outcast. They did this in 2003, so I guess, well, yeah, their big albums had come out by then, right? Yeah. It's an interesting one to put in there. Okay. Stereo Lab, Emperor Tomato Cat. Yeah, all right. Again, kind of your typical pitchfork fare. PJ Harvey, Rid of Me. You guys know how I feel about PJ Harvey. I love her. Definitely not her best album in the 90s, in my opinion. I mean, To Bring You My Love, Is This Desire. I think those are better albums, but just my opinion. Weezer again. Fuck off. No, I'm not even going there. Blur, Park Life. Yeah. I've tried to like Blur over the years. I don't know, man. They're all right. Blur is a singles band to me. Every one of their albums has like two or three cuts that are really good, then the rest of them are just like meh. I know people love Blur, but Park Life, that's the one with girls and boys, isn't it? Like that's their best song, I think. I think that's on Park Life. Park Life is their best album. I definitely would say that. Or as Oasis would say, Shite Life. By the way, where's Oasis? I haven't seen any Oasis on here. Like, that definitely maybe is a fucking great album. That would be in my top 50 of the 90s. Not a huge Oasis fan, but definitely maybe is a kick-ass album. You guys remember the whole Brit pop wars? Oasis and Blur going at each other. Oasis called this album Shite Life. Oasis wished that Damon Albarn got AIDS. It was just it was just the Gallagher brothers being the Gallagher brothers. Fucking Liam. Well, Noel Gallagher could be a comedian if he wanted. Liam Gallagher is pretty goddamn funny too. Noel Gallagher, I mean, dude, I would go out of my way to watch interviews with that guy. He is so funny. Really funny guys. Spiritualized, ladies and gentlemen, we were floating in space. This would be in my top 20 of the 90s. By the way, where's Prodigy? Fat of the Land. I haven't seen that. Ladies and gentlemen, we were floating in space is an amazing record. I've done my video on that. Hopefully you guys have watched that. Beautiful record. One of my favorites. Tribe Called Quest, Low End Theory. Yep, I've talked about that one too. That is a great album. One of the best sample albums you'll ever hear. Brainiac, Bonsai Super. I have no idea. What? Jesus Lizard? Liar. Okay. Elliott Smith. See, this is the one I was waiting for. I'm surprised he's not higher for these guys. No thanks. Palace Music, Viva Las Blues. Pulp, Different Class. Aphex Twin, Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. You know how I feel about that one. By the way, I love Pulp. I love Jarvis. I think a better Pulp album is the one that was it after this one? This is Hardcore. I think that's Pulp's best album. This is Hardcore. Better than this one, but this is the hipster Pulp. It's got Common People on it, and that's the song about fucking basically. And hipsters like doing that, don't they? I mean, come on, we all do, but this is, this album is kind of it personifies like a certain culture at that time. But I think this is Hardcore is a better album. Anyway, yeah, you know how I feel about Saw 2. I already did my video on that. De La Soul is dead. Great album. The Breeders' Last Splash. That's okay. I like The Breeders. They're all right. I like Kim Deal. She seems like a cool chick. Daft Punk Homework. Yeah. Homework will always be the best Daft Punk album. Their first album. I like Daft Punk. Who doesn't like Daft Punk? But back before they were a household name, they were doing this. And that's a good album. Tricky Max and Quay. Yeah, that's a cool album. Tricky. Yeah. Oh, by the way, where's Massive Attack? Well, this is Pitchfork in 2003. Yeah, come on. All three Massive Attack albums should be arguably in the top 50. The first three. Blue Lines, Protection, Mezzanine. Arguably all three of those should be in the top 50. We haven't seen one yet. And we're all the way through 68. We already have two Elliott Smith albums and now one Massive Attack album. Should tell you the kind of audience that is making this list. I'm going to go through a few more. I'll go up to 75 or 76 here, and I'm going to bounce out of here. Jeff Buckley Grace, no. Jawbox, don't even know. Dr. Octagon, okay, whatever. Silver Jews American, better than Massive Attack. Elliott Smith, Jawbox, Silver, yeah, these are better than Massive Attack, I guess. Brainiac, that's the second Brainiac album. Okay, Ride Nowhere. That's a great album. Mercury Rev, Deserter Songs. That is a really cool album. Love Mercury Rev. God, remember this? Those of you who were around, you remember this? Mercury Rev? Yeah. What was the song, the first song on this? Holes? Is that the name of it? Remember that? Holes? What a great song. Whole album's good, but wow. Screamadelica, way down at 77. Pitchfork. Stereolab, Dr. Dre, The Far Side. Yeah, I'm cutting it. So I was basically right. You get your Elliott Smith and your Neutral Milk Hotel and your whiny, sensitive, sitting alone in a bar writing poetry rock. Neutral Milk Hotel, two Pavement albums. I don't know. Like, again, I'll just say this before I click off, but I know this came out in 2003, but when you're considering all of the thousands of albums that came out in the 90s, you're putting two Pavement records in the top 10. I just would challenge anybody who's writing a list like this to step outside your bubble a little bit, man. There's more to life than pavement. It's just an example. Try listening to something different. That's all I'm saying. I'm getting out of here. Later.